Now we're going to have to do, we're going to do some reverse engineering because the only way you're going to be able to stay with asking for fruit of the Spirit every day, and with the Most High working through you, the only way that you are going to have to be able to stay with asking Him every day and thanking Him for ordering your footsteps, going out before you, preparing your way, and fighting all your battles for you and getting the victories, giving you the victories. And with each victory, He gets honor from your life. The only way that this is going to be able to happen is each of us, and I repeat, there's nobody that has a status that takes them above this. No human being has ever lived that takes them above this. Okay? The only way this is going to happen is if we are in a state of complete and total surrender. Not submission, surrender. Please understand. Now, this surrender is not prostrating your physical flesh and blood body on the floor. That's not bad for prayer. It's a great place to be before Him in humility. But the surrender that is necessary is something that you've already been taught, but in different language. The surrender that's necessary means you need to have an understanding of a couple of things that you don't have yet, and we're going to work on. The surrender that's necessary for this journey to bring you to where you need to be in the kingdom, name in the book of life, New Jerusalem, okay, is still Him giving fruit of the Spirit. Okay, He uses fruit of the Spirit from the beginning to generate echad, to generate yachad, both, and to generate righteousness. There are different kinds of righteousness, justifications, one for the house of Yaakov, one for the house of Israel, and another for the kingdom. Now, in today's parashah, okay, in chapter 6, verse 25, as you guys were reading, it says, and all this, meaning His entire Torah, it shall be counted as our righteousness. When we take care to fulfill all the commandment. Commandment here is a singular word, not plural, because the singleness of this word commandment here in this passage means the entirety of all Torah. All the mitzvah, all the statutes, all the judgments, okay? Everything in Torah is within this one statement with a single, the singleness instead of the plurality of the word mitzvah here. All of Torah, all of it in its entirety is one commandment, which is why Rav Shaul says in the New Testament, if you've broken one, you've broken the entire thing. It's not because you've forgotten one, or you did a misstep with one, or last Tuesday you didn't quite complete one. That's saying that all of Torah is actually one commandment.
Okay.
So the only way this can be done is through fruit of the Spirit. The only way this can be done is with the circumcision of the heart.
Thank you, Rob.
For what?
Validating that for me.
Oh, been there the whole time.
Oh no, I had it came to me, I don't know. It was probably about a month ago or whatever. I don't know. I think I was at work and I was thinking about it. And that came up. That exactly what you just said.
Well, maybe you telegraph to me in telepathy and heart-to-heart talk and help me out with that.
I I think it was just the Most High, just showing me something.
I was trying to give you some credit.
Yeah, that's, yeah, okay. But I appreciate it. That's cool.
Okay. We got to cover some things we covered before, cover some things we hadn't covered before. Everybody ready?
Yep.
Okay. You don't have to buckle your seatbelt. You don't have to put your tray in an upright position. You don't have to put the back of your seat up, because you need to be in whatever position you need to be comfortable with the Most High and what He's going to write on your heart today, what He's going to reveal. Try to remember something. It says in the Tanakh that when the first king of Israel, when the Most High withdrew His presence from him, he fell on his sword. So we have some small indicator of what that's like if the Most High recedes and takes Himself of His revealed presence away. Even though He's still there, we can't feel Him, hear Him, see Him, or anything. It's not there anymore. And if there's nothing there to support our relationship with Him and our covenant, we fall away. Which is why 50% of Christianity today is not there anymore. Which is why 60 to 70% of Judaism is not there today in religious practice for the same reason. It's not because they're tired of the Most High. They're tired of a disciplined approach to belief and a way of life that they can't feel or see or hear or interact with the Most High and His Kodesh. If He's not a part of it, it doesn't work well. The reason for this is the Most High said in the prophets that when He sends out His word, what does it do? It has to accomplish what He sends it out to do, and when it returns,
will not be void.
it returns whole and complete for what He sent it out to do. Okay, this lets us know, especially with knowing that the Most High sees the end from the beginning, it lets us know He's the most results-oriented being that we have an example of. The best place that you can be with whatever personality you have and the way He develops you is to be fully results-oriented in everything that you say, everything that you do. If you are results-oriented and you are getting more and more fruit of the Spirit and everything there, you are beginning to walk as Yeshua walked. Remember, Yeshua said, I came to say everything the Father said to say. I came to do everything the Father said to do. And I've done it. And now, in John 17, I'm ready to return to where I was before, and I'd like to have the honor, the glory that I had when I was with you before. He's never saying, I'm going to come back to be you. He said, I'm going to come back to be with you with what where and how I was before. Now, Rav Shaul also writes that the Most High Himself is spirit, invisible, and Yeshua is the visible image of the invisible. Does he not?
Yes.
Okay. Keep that in mind. Please. In Bereshit of Genesis, let us make man in our image. They did not have any human beings yet. They didn't have anything that could be called a human being yet. They didn't have any nations, didn't have any peoples of the earth. They didn't have everything that they had. Whenever Rav Shaul spoke that, they said, let us make man in our image. The only image that they had was them as a spirit being of light. So they made us in His image. They made us first as spirit beings of light. Okay. That's one of the things that made it so easy for the Most High to communicate to him when it says the voice walked in the cool of the morning. The voice, the word, walked in the cool of the morning in Gan Eden. Okay? Now, how many people today can say that they have seen a voice walking anywhere? So think what a privilege it was without anybody being none the wiser for that man or woman to be able to, on a regular basis, see and hear and feel the voice there, walking, talking, everything. Now, in order for there to be that man and the woman, when he first made man in his image, he made him male and female. That is a way, that is an attribute of things of masculinity and femininity that he has not revealed to us, that pertains to the way that he made us whole as a spirit being. That may be a hint of why there's no marrying or giving in marriage in heaven, because they're already complete, male and female, in his image. Okay? Now, when it says that then he went to the Adama, Adama is most normally translated as red clay or red earth. However, the actual definition, even from ancient times, is redness, a hue which represents our consciousness as it's been found out today. Some people want to call it an aura. Okay. Technology today and research today shows that aura, that redness, extends from within us to outside of us between 6 meters and more. And that's the best technology can measure it thus far. They estimated that it may reach throughout the solar system. Now, then he took that consciousness, that redness, and put it together with us, and he breathed into it, saying that he flared his nostrils. Now, if they are spirit beings, beings of life, we don't have a clue as to what those nostrils would have actually been like in breathing his breath into the two of us, the consciousness and the spirit being of light, that made us a nefesh, a living creature. There was no need for the flesh and blood because we weren't in that environment. It wasn't until we were in a sinful state that, and we were leaving Gan Eden, after he spoke to the man, after he spoke to the woman, after he spoke to the servant, then he said he put skins on us and we left. There's no evidence of there actually being an animal sacrifice for the people to try to figure that out without the Most High revealing it. Okay? And it says that sin lives in the skin, skin meaning the flesh and blood. Okay? We left Gan Eden unrepentant, unforgiven, unatoned for, guilty, okay, of sin. But the only sin that we were guilty of was disobeying a commandment to not eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. It's really interesting because when we were a nefesh, a living creature, as a being of light and consciousness, okay, it says that the woman was able to see the tree before she ate of it. And she describes the tree before she eats of it. And then it says after she eats of it, her eyes are opened. So she's describing it and seeing it before she eats of it. And then her eyes are open and she's describing it differently afterward. So we've got two ways to use our sight. Okay. When Yeshua healed a man born blind, the first time that he healed him, he says, "What do you see?" And he says, "I see men as trees walking." The other command, another command that the man was given in Gan Eden was to name every tree in Gan Eden. The man was given the command to name every tree in Gan Eden, and the Most High was satisfied with whatever name the tree was named. And yet the man born blind, the first time his eyes were opened, he saw men as trees walking. The man was expressly commanded, which was one of the first commands in Torah, to name all the trees in Gan Eden. And the man born blind, when he first was given vision, he was able to see men as trees walking. You think that might be a cross reference? Now, from the time they left Gan Eden in a sinful state, from there in Job, it says that all born of a woman, shaped and fashioned in the womb, are born into sin, shaped in iniquity, quoting the King Jimmy. Okay. Born into sin does not make us sinful when we leave the womb born as an infant. However, it does mean that we're born into a spiritual environment of sin. And a spiritual environment of sin where there is no correction, where there is no atonement, there is no repentance, there is no forgiveness, is the way that it is shaped into iniquity. Now, keep this in mind. Keep it in mind. Keep it in mind. I could say it another dozen times. Okay? Now, so we know that everything spiritual is done through spiritual work. Even Yeshua said to his followers, flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father in heaven. So we have the Father in heaven, who Rob Shaul says is spirit, and Yeshua is the visible image of the invisible. We have that visible image of the invisible saying that flesh and blood did not reveal this to you. So flesh and blood did not reveal you. This is not a ceremonial activity. This is a spiritual activity.
Right.
Flesh and blood did not reveal this to you. The only thing we have left to turn to is a spiritual activity. That spiritual activity of the Most High had to reveal this to him. And we see it in more than one place. So the activity we're talking about here is spiritual in nature. Being spiritual in nature, since we have a flesh and blood body now, how do we understand what was in Gan Eden before skin was put on it? When Yeshua in John 15 says he commands the Spirit to come out from the presence of the Father, indicating that the Father is Spirit, but he has a Spirit as well. He commands the Spirit that the Father has, not the Spirit that he is. And he commands it to come out from the presence of the Father to each one of us that the Father has revealed us to Yeshua, and revealed Yeshua to us. And then Yeshua sends the Spirit to each one of us that needs it to clean us up. But he's not coming to inhabit and domicile in the flesh and blood body. That is the residence of sin and carnal nature. That doesn't make it negative. It doesn't make it sinful in and of itself. But it is the home of all that. So where does the Spirit go to if it doesn't go to the flesh and blood body? It goes to us as a spirit being of light, that has that consciousness that is the nefesh. So to the living creatures of the nefesh is actually living inside the flesh and blood body, even though even Judaism today teaches differently than that. I'm sharing with this to you, and waiting. You'll have to wait for the Most High to reveal it to you personally so that you can either agree or disagree. I'm not asking for anything more. Now, this being said, please understand. Please try to understand, at least hear it enough to where you can take it to him and ask for him to confirm it and reveal it. When we ask the Most High through Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh as the name, Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh B'Shem Yeshua, okay? Because we know in John 17, Yeshua says, I've kept everybody that you've given me, and those are the only ones he has, is the ones the Most High has given him. I've kept everybody that you've given me by the power of your name, the name that you gave me. That had to be Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh. Because it says elsewhere that Yeshua's name was the highest name given under heaven. And the Most High says, I swear by my own name because there's no higher name under heaven that I can swear by. There can't be two names that are the highest name given under heaven. They don't compete. The Most High is not going to do that to himself because he's so results oriented in everything. So he's speaking of the Most High giving the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh back before the foundation of the world. Because he also says that the Most High has loved him since before the foundation of the world. Now here in Devarim in 6 and 25, and it shall be counted as our righteousness when we take care to fulfill all this commandment. Yeshua took the time to say when he was walking in the flesh on this earth, he says, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the Pharisees. The only place that being completely Torah observant is our righteousness like this is whenever we're in the house of Yaakov. And whenever it's counted as our righteousness because we're obedient, there's something there that has to help us in obedience. We don't have it within us as a created being to do it of ourselves. The only way we can be obedient like this, so Torah observance can be counted as righteousness, even in the house of Yaakov, is with his spirit, with the fruit of the spirit, with what he's revealing to us, and the way he stirs the heart as the heart is being circumcised. It says in Shemot in Exodus chapter 4 that he has brought us out of Egypt on eagle's wings, and he is bringing us back to him. The process of the circumcision of the heart is the way that he brings us back to him. That process of circumcising the heart, that process of him giving us fruit of the Spirit, that process of that fruit of the Spirit growing and growing in us with its Kodesh, that process of the Most High actually being the one being present through us as a worthy vessel, working that fruit of the Spirit through us. Okay? And us being redeemed, where we are turning our attention to him more and more. And we are, as we give him our attention, we can feel his Kodesh. And as that Kodesh is present more and more, the Kodesh is growing with each fruit of the Spirit. And as we get more fruit of the Spirit, there's more Kodesh, and more Kodesh is growing. Each day is good unto itself with the fruit of the Spirit that's there. Each day has its Kodesh. Each day we're being redeemed. And we're changing direction. We're changing in our thoughts. We're changing in our thinking. We're changing in our choices. We're changing in our decisions. This process is circumcision of the heart. And it continues on until we either turn away or we complete this journey we're on eagle's wings. Now, we are taught in Devarim, we are taught in Torah, we are taught in the prophets, we are taught in the writings to cleave to the Most High, to cleave to him. Now, Michael, I sent you a little article in a text message in reference to all that they speak without the Most High revealing it about cleaving. Okay, so if psychologically, intellectually, academically, we can understand cleaving to that degree, how much more as the Most High reveals it, and as the Most High provides the activity of working through us, that provides us the ways and means through him to cleave to him, how much more can it be? The only way that we are able to circumcise the heart, the only way that we can maintain and keep the fruit of the Spirit's activity going in us as the Most High works through us every day with his presence. The only way this happens, is with us surrendering. And there is only one way that we can surrender.
With that being said, Rob, can we take a 10-minute break?
Sure, whatever you like. As I mentioned, the only way for these things to really happen is for us to be in 100% state of surrender. Now, the way that we know ourselves, the way we live in the world, the idea of being 100% in one state 24/7 is a physical, emotional, psychological, intellectual impossibility. The human psyche, secularly, psychologically, cannot sustain that on a 24/7 basis. Okay? No matter how much we would want to, we don't even take the same kind of breath of air one after the other. One might be a little bit longer. We might sigh. We might get short of breath. We might run. We might pant. Our breathing varies immensely. Our thought, we don't even have good discipline in our thinking, in our thinking part of our brains. Okay. So if on a general basis, okay, I tell people at times, you want to learn how to discipline the mind, even in the most basic way, start counting your breaths. And every time you lose count of your breath, start all over again. This is one of the first steps to discipline the mind. Okay? The only other way we have to discipline our mind is spiritually. And the way we do that spiritually is by surrendering ourselves. Okay? And just like every time you lose count of your breath, and by the way, it's not our breath, it's his. Okay? We got to start all over again. As we begin to learn how to surrender, and as we go through this, we have to be completely repetitious. We have to be something that Hannah has come to love and hate with me. You have to be very, very persistent, and you must be very, very consistent so that the two words become inseparable and reversible. You must be persistently consistent, and you must be consistently persistent to the point where you have this juggling love-hate relationship with these two words and with your psyche, depending on your mood and your interaction with others. Okay? Now, how do we surrender? We cannot force ourselves with everything that runs through our mind to surrender. When you're texting somebody, how do you surrender? When you're watching TV, how do you surrender? When you're driving a vehicle, how do you surrender fully? Whenever you are interacting with other people on different levels, how do you surrender fully? Whenever you are fully emotionally, psychologically tapped and exhausted from dealing with things in a day's time and you want to lay down and go to sleep, how do you surrender fully? All these different potential extreme environments that we find ourselves in emotionally and psychologically. Okay. The first thing that presents itself is, no way, we can't do this. The Most High provides us with a way, and it's called his way. And what is that, Hannah, that we've learned that his way is? What is that called? What is that way called, Hannah?
What?
We even named a ministry after it.
Direct HaKadosh.
Derek HaKodesh. Now, Hannah, I have liberty. I can reveal to you why it always made me laugh so much. Every time I heard everybody say that.
Okay.
Because Derek HaKodesh is the circumcision of the heart.
Wow. Dovet HaKadosh.
Direct.
Direct,
Huh?
meaning the right way. or the way of,
D-E-R-E-K.
Oh, Derek Hakada, okay,
Mhm.
Toda.
Bivakasha.
now, how do we surrender? How do we get into this way of doing things his way? We need a mechanism. We need a how-to. Now, I've been telling you this, and I had to do it this way because this is the way the Most High is presented in the scripture. The last will be first, and the first will be last. Okay? The reason I've been asking you this whole time to ask for the Most High, please give me all the fruits of your spirit. All the fruits of your spirit. All the fruits of your spirit. Every day. Producing and reproducing my heart and life. And it all remains to honor the Father. Because think about this for a second. All the fruits of the Spirit, which means loving kindness, loving mercy, loving joy, joyful love, merciful love, kind love, gentle love, love with gratitude, love with compassion, kind compassion, all the different ways that the Most High will express all the fruits of the Spirit through us every time He chooses to. And as we give ourselves to that, the giving of ourselves to Him working through us with all the fruits of the Spirit every time He does it, this is our surrender. Turning our attention to Him so that we can submit to Him, so we can surrender to Him, so that He has no obstacle. He has nothing there preventing Him from working through us with all the fruits of the Spirit, filling us up with His Kodesh and His fruits of the Spirit, and redeeming us as we get filled up and overflow to others in whatever direction and how He wants it done. This ongoing process is that surrender. Not just psychologically and intellectually and academically and historically ask, give me the fruit of the Spirit. Come on, I'm ready. I got it. Come on, I'm a vessel. I got it. Come on, let's do it. Come on, let's do it. You're not going to get very far that way. Because as He's sending fruit of the Spirit, everything that we have, every hurt, every pain that we have been nurturing, everything that we cannot forgive somebody else for that we nurture, everything that even though you give an offering and the Cohen is good to do what? Atone for that. And yet and still, we still have something we feel like we got to hold back because we're guilty. And when we feel guilty of something, we feel like something's got to happen because of that guilt. So we will punish ourselves because of guilt, even though the Most High says, I have atonement for you.
Does that also come about by spending more time with Him?
Spending more quality of time.
Right, yeah,
Spending more disciplined time.
right. Yeah. Okay.
Now think about this. He gives you an example every moment of your life. Because with every one of His breaths that we take, we are renewed. Oxygen is replenished in the physiology of the flesh and blood of our physical body. Every breath that we take, we breathe out what we don't need for the body. That goes and the plants receive it with gladness. He sets things up in His creation for this to be done.
Right.
Yep.
Because we were first seeing spiritually. And when the woman's eyes were open after she ate of the fruit, she saw it a different way. So it's already built within us as the spirit being that we are. Okay? When he sends the Spirit from the presence of the Father to inhabit us, it does not inhabit the flesh and blood. It inhabits us as a spirit being. The nefesh that we are, it takes up residence within us as a spirit being of light. And then from there, because of the consciousness we have that the Most High made with the Adama, the hue, he made consciousness and he joined it with us so that we could be made in his image fully. Okay? Because it was his. He designed it. He made it. So his spirit joins with that, takes residence with that, and from that it exudes, it comes through the flesh and blood body. That's why we have the moments where we're feeling more. That's why we have moments where we're not paying attention to them, we don't feel as much. Because the flesh and blood body, through the direction of the consciousness, is what interacts in all of creation with the 60 to 70 to 120 years of life that he's gifted us, so we can make this journey back to him. This surrender happens. Now, the way that it happens is with us choosing to cleave to him.
Right.
If you think about a leech on your skin, you're about 2% closer to understanding how much we got to cleave to the Most High. Now think about this for a moment. When we ask him, give me all the fruits of your spirit, producing and reproducing my heart and life every day. And it all needs to remain to honor the Father. Because the only way that we've been given, that we've been instructed to honor the Father, is with us receiving fruit of the Spirit, and it does its work and it remains to the end. Which is why Rav Shaul told us to run the race to the end. He wasn't talking about the life, he was talking about our spiritual journey back to the Most High. Run the race to the end. Because Rav Shaul was teaching us how to take the spiritual journey. He wasn't teaching us how to live in flesh and blood bodies. Yeshua said, give to Caesar what Caesar. That includes everything with the flesh and blood. Okay? Rav Shaul was teaching about the kingdom. He was teaching us how to get there and beyond, with our name written in the book of life, with Yeshua revealing the Father so we can have a relationship with the Father. Okay? Where we can say our Father in Yeshayahu in chapter 63:16 is an example of our Father. In Yeshayahu Isaiah in chapter 64 verse 8 is an example of our Father. In First Chronicles in chapter 29 verse 10 is an example of our Father. In Matthew chapter 6 verse 9 is an example of our Father. In Mark chapter 10 chapter 11 verse 10 it's an example of our Father. So we had our Father back in the Tanakh. It wasn't an invention of the New Testament. Now, as we continue here, the biggest thing that we have to set our eyes on in order to surrender, in order to receive what we've asked for in asking for fruit of the Spirit every day, okay? He told us to seek his kingdom and his righteousness first. He told us to keep our eyes on him first. He told us in our lesson we learned from Yehoshua, we learn him first, be before him first. That never changes. The first step in disciplining ourselves and understanding it in our own heart and mind as we approach everything is him first. Always him first. It can never vary. It can never change. Him first. Why? Because he made us in his image. From the beginning, he made us in his image. Now think about something. Think about the wisdom of the Most High here. He caused the man to go into the sleep of our fathers. The first one that did it in Gan Eden even. And in the sleep of our fathers, that deep sleep, because his people and his children are the only ones that sleep the sleep of the fathers instead of being numbered among the dead. Okay, the sleep of our fathers. He went to a deep sleep, and he took the back half of the man who was made whole in the image of the Most High, and he separated the woman from the man. So all that was female about him was separated. And then the man had to wake up from that sleep of the fathers, which is a cross reference for something called a rapture, which is not a scriptural word. Okay. Now is a presence of mind. Now is a presence with the Father. Now is a present moment. We have no yesterdays. We have no tomorrows. We live every second. We live every day. We live every moment now in the present tense. The Most High made it this way so that we are always in the present, so that we can always be present with Him. We can always direct our attention to Him. There is no yesterday. There is no tomorrow. There is no the morning past. There is no morning tomorrow. It is always now. It is always the present moment. And each present moment passes into another present moment. We live our entire life in this present moment so that we are always having the opportunity to be present with the Father. So that we can get so much of Him with His Spirit abiding with us, within us, as a spirit being of light with consciousness, being in the nefesh. So His Spirit abides with the image that He made us in. His Spirit abides with us as a nefesh, a living creature. His Spirit abides with us within the fleshy blood that He made us. This is important for you to understand, because the physical body's not going to be standing before Him to see if the name is in the book of life. The physical flesh and blood body does not go to the lake of fire, because He said it came from the dust. It goes back to the dust. Flesh and blood body has nothing to do with the lake of fire. That remains it to be us as a spirit being of life. The nefesh, the living creature. The consciousness. That's what stands before the throne. And if your name's not in the book of life, you got to take the long way around to go through the lake of fire. There's no human body to make prettier. There's no human body to seek the eternal life with through the fountain of youth. There's no physical flesh and blood body that goes into a perfect state of being. There's no flesh and blood body that's going to be changed and altered a few times because it came from the dust. It goes back to the dust. It has to be that way because He put the serpent on his belly to eat the dust of the earth all the days of his life. The dust of the earth, because human bodies go back to the dust, is the food and the diet of the adversary. And it's because of that, when the Most High says, "Where have you been?" when He called him to court, He said, "I've been going to and fro about the earth, seeking who I might devour." Seeking who I might devour. He doesn't devour anybody that's still alive with the breath of life as a nefesh, living creature inside a flesh and blood body. If He's seeking who He might devour, and the dust of the earth is His diet, then He's seeking the dead, seeking who He might devour. Not the living. Because the human body has to go back to the dust, and the dust of the earth is His diet, since Gan Eden. That the only ones that He can devour are those that are the flesh, who've given up the flesh and blood, and no longer in the flesh and blood. The flesh and blood has gone back to the dust, so He's seeking after the flesh and blood that has gone back to the dust, and so He never gets close to us as the nefesh, the living creature that we are. He can't touch us. The nefesh, the living creature, the image that He made us in, the spirit being of life with consciousness, the Most High never lets Him touch us, because His diet, as He goes to and fro about the earth seeking who He might devour, all He can do is eat the dust of what's already been used up, because His flesh and blood has already gone back to the dust. is all that he's got to eat. It's no longer being used by the Most High as a host, as a house for us as a living creature. It's no longer housing us as a living creature. And us as a living creature is what is housing his spirit to produce fruit of the spirit. So the best that the adversary can do now to seek who he might devour is seek after the dust that the flesh and blood went back to when it's no longer being used. How much of a threat is that?
Nothing.
You see the liberty he's given me today to be a little more plainly spoken? Yes, for the background. But if you want to turn it off, you can. Now, surrender. It's going to always come back to our surrender. Why? It always comes back to this because the man and woman left Gan Eden after they ate of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and the second set of eyes were open, and so we're always seeking after knowing more, knowing and experiencing more. That's what we're always doing. Seeking after knowledge of more, experiencing more. The way we gain that knowledge of good and evil is by experiencing things. We don't do it by having some kind of mastication going on with the flesh and blood, because when we ate of the tree of life, we didn't have a physical body. So we got to take our eyes off of this thirst and desire for experiencing more things and consuming more from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And that's how come he says, put your eyes on me, seek my kingdom and my righteousness first. That's why he said this, because this way we take our eyes off of consuming through those experiences and put our eyes back on him. So instead of consuming from the tree of knowledge of good and evil and experiencing and satisfying that hunger and craving, now if we turn our eyes back on him and seek his kingdom and his righteousness first, because Rob Shaul defined the kingdom as being peace and love. No, it wasn't love. It was peace and joy and righteousness, which is the kingdom of the Most High with his righteousness, the fruit of the Spirit, and righteousness together, his righteousness make the kingdom. So he's using the fruit of the Spirit from the kingdom to bring us into the kingdom in its completeness. He gives us fruit of the Spirit so we can be lovingly obedient in the house of Yaakov. So Torah cannot judge us, and Torah kicks us out of the house of Yaakov into the house of Israel. Israel being those who will overcome, those who prevail, those who overcome, those who prevail. And so those who prevail, they become righteous because they are growing in obedience. They are growing in the fruit of the Spirit, and they are lovingly obedient. They are mercifully obedient. We are compassionately obedient. We are kindly obedient. We are humbly obedient. We are becoming righteous because as he judges us, he justifies us. When he justifies us, that justification is his righteousness. So we no longer need Torah observance to be our righteousness, because it says elsewhere in Torah, and it says in the prophets and in the writings, that he himself is our righteousness. He himself is our praise. And so for us to get to where that can count for us, we have to get into the house of Israel, where he is our righteousness because he judges and he justifies. It's his justification, his righteousness that clothes us. So he is our righteousness. Whatever righteousness we have is what he clothes us with, whatever he gives us after he's judged us. How did he judge us? He judges us for our Torah observance being there. And when he has something against us, it's because we were not Torah observant in a particular thing. And it's one commandment, not all of the commandments, because one commandment is all of it. in its entirety. So when he has nothing against us, we are lovingly through fruit of the Spirit Torah observant. Being Torah observant means when he judges us each time, every day for the day before, then we are judged to be justified. And he does justify us. When he justifies us, he's giving us his righteousness. Justification and righteousness, same word, spelt the same way in Hebrew. Okay? Depends on the context that it's used in. Now, as this is done, we keep our eyes on him. We keep our eyes seeking the kingdom first, seeking his righteousness first. What we're doing then is we are seeking the kingdom. Because we seek his kingdom and his righteousness. So, even though his righteousness is a part of the kingdom, this command to seek his kingdom and his righteousness first, we are even told here to seek his kingdom and all that's revealed there, and we are commanded to seek his righteousness even beyond the kingdom. His righteousness beyond the kingdom is the book of life. His righteousness beyond the kingdom is New Jerusalem. So we're commanded to seek his kingdom and his righteousness first. To keep our eyes in the kingdom, to seek being in his kingdom, and beyond the kingdom, New Jerusalem, for all that he has for us there. So in that surrender is the activity. That surrender is the mechanism, that activity that goes on every day. Give me more of your fruit of the Spirit. I need to feel the fruit of the Spirit. I need to live the fruit of the Spirit. The only way I can feel the fruit of the Spirit, the only way I can live the fruit of the Spirit is with you and your activity working through me, through this house, being that vessel you wanted it for. The only thing that he made the flesh and blood house for, while we were unatoned for, while we were in guilt, while we were sinful, the only reason he gave us the flesh and blood house was to be a vessel for him to be used.
Right.
A vessel for the spirit being of light that we are, with consciousness, being the flesh, living creature. The flesh and blood house is a vessel for that. And being that vessel and having that inclusion of the presence commanded by the right hand of power of his Ruach HaKodesh, which gives us that, we're giving birth to the fruit of the Spirit, because we're the part of the vine, we're the branches of the vine, and the fruit of the Spirit and all the Kodesh is being fed from the Father, being the husbandman, being the cultivator, through the vine, and then to us. And he says in John 15, if the branch is not bearing fruit and it's barren, I'm going to pull it away from the vine, and I'm going to bundle it with other barren branches, and it's going to be thrown in the lake of fire. So the time that he pulls it from the vine and bundles it with other branches is whenever he finds that our name is not written in the book of life. Because he says, when your name is not found in the book of life, you're cast into the lake of fire. Both times. So the requirement for us to have our name in the book of life is to be abundantly producing and reproducing fruit of the Spirit, and it remains to honor the Father. That's what puts our name in the book of life, because if you're barren and not producing fruit, you're pulled from the vine and thrown in the lake of fire. And when he defines your name in the book of life, if it's there, you stay there, you go to New Jerusalem. If your name is not in the book of life, you are cast into the lake of fire. Both times are simultaneous. So we got to, that's what makes this his path. That's what makes it the eagle's wings bringing us back to him. That's what makes it the circumcision of the heart, is because he wants the heart whole. We are the betrothed spouse, the betrothed wife of Yeshua, and for him to present us as a bride to the Father, we have to go through this circumcision of the heart. There has to be a whole heart for us to be presented to Yeshua as the complete bride of the Anointed One. And then in New Jerusalem, we, as the bride of the Anointed One, with the groom and the anointed one as the groom, we then become a whole bride presented to the Father, who becomes the groom. A second marriage, which makes us entirely echad as from the beginning. Now, surrender. We surrender by and asking for all the fruit of the Spirit. And as we ask for all the fruit of the Spirit, and He answers us, His activity of loving us and loving through us to others fills us up with that fruit of the Spirit of love each day and His Kodesh each day. So each day gets its own share of Kodesh. Each day gets its own share of fruit of the Spirit. So each day gets its own share of us being redeemed. And so this activity, 6 days of the week. So we have stored up, just like the virgins have stored up their oil in the lamp by each Shabbat. And each Shabbat is Him in His Kadosh fully. As we enter into His rest is His Kadosh in His fullness. So we have stored up through those 6 days of the week, Kodesh, and the activity of the fruit of the Spirit of Him through us, and the being redeemed. So we have stored up from each week that to enter in with Him into that seventh day, His rest, His Shabbat. And we do that continually until when? Until the book is opened and our name is in the book of life, and He sends us to New Jerusalem. When our name is in the book of life, that is the crescendo. That is the epitome of all of it. Him returning is not the crescendo. That's a continuance with Him, part of His promise. You will be with me. That's what it says in John 15. That's what it says in John 17. You'll be with me. So He's not going back to heaven. He's going to where? The Mount of Olives, which has become a cemetery. They're no longer getting olives from the Mount of Olives. It's a cemetery today. So when His feet set there, it's going to break in half. And that's going to make changes in Jerusalem because it's right outside of Jerusalem. Whether it's Old Jerusalem or the physical New Jerusalem being built all over everything today, or a spiritual New Jerusalem coming down out of heaven. Is any of this making any sense thus far?
Absolutely.
Is everybody able to receive this?
Yep.
You tell your wife, Patrick, not to stop or slow down with those prayers and those praises. They feel really good.
Oh,
Is this making any more sense? Is the Most High revealing anything to you? Are you able to receive any of this? I have to ask before I go any farther.
yes. Yes.
Anna,
Yes.
are you answering me because I said your name, or are you answering because you're getting this?
Yeah. Yeah, both.
Oh, okay. Does anybody have any comments on what they're receiving from the Most High? Not so much what I'm saying. How
It's
are you
bringing,
doing with it, Michael?
it's bringing everything that you've taught together,
Okay.
culminating in a whole, it's, for me, it's like, it's amplifying the relationship that He wants to have with us.
Yeah. That's good.
Say again.
Me or,
What'd you say, Hannah?
oh,
No, I was just saying that's good how he's putting that. That's
Oh,
true.
okay.
It's put-
What he said, huh? I got it.
It's funny
Oh,
though,
I
because,
like how you phrased it.
I'm sorry. What'd you say, Hannah?
No, I said I like how you phrased it.
Thank you.
What
I,
you said.
he's been leading me to this because I've been going, moving forward with them with my relationship with them and talking with them and stuff and what you're saying is actually what I've been doing with him. It that and it all started from those prayers that you gave us in the beginning. Um, and I was wondering why I was feeling like that, but when you explained it that way, that yeah, we ask for these things and he gives it to us, but I was opening a door that I didn't know that I was opening that's gonna culminate in him um bringing me through with the circumcision of the heart.
Hunter, got any comment?
Is that a question for me?
No, I was wondering if you had any comments or anything.
Yes. Yeah, it was for me.
Oh, okay.
It's confirmed things that my father has taught me since the start of coming in. And
Okay,
that I refused to look at when I was married.
Read what I wrote down.
Yes, I agree with that.
well, I think Michael is recording this, so you should be okay to go over it again.
Okay.
I'm Baruch Hashem.
Have I been talking too fast? Jumping
No.
around too much?
Nope.
Well, everything's coming out clear and coherent.
Yep.
Well, that helps me. A lot of times people say I'm not that coherent. So,
Ears are open.
okay. Michael?
Good. You could slow down just a little to help my note-taking ability.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
It's been a few decades since I took any speed writing classes.
Oh, my grandma years ago taught me shorthand.
Yeah, I remember it in high school.
Shorthand comes in unbelievably handy.
But I forgot it.
As I mentioned at the beginning, the key here for all of it is surrender.
Yeah.
Okay. You have a lot of people, they like to get in the mood, they like to get a warm fuzzy in their stomach. They like to feel like they're floating and I'm surrendering, I'm surrendering, I'm surrendering. I'm not I'm not asking you to have a physical experience. I'm not asking you to have an emotional experience. I'm not asking you to have a psychological experience. I'm not asking you to have an intellectual experience. I'm asking you to seek after the Most High in His kingdom to the degree that He's responding to you, He's revealing Himself, He's giving you fruit of the Spirit, and He's doing it on a daily basis, and you are seeking Him so much, you are that willing vessel, that worthy vessel that He works through with all that He's doing, and you are experiencing that Kodesh for each fruit of the Spirit. And each day is filling up with its own quota, for lack of a better word in English, of the fruit of the Spirit, and the Kodesh, and the redeeming of you. And you're getting this great sense of your thoughts changing, your thinking changes, your decision making changing, your I don't want to say that. Oh yeah, help me out here. You allow Him so much of you. You are seeking him to such a degree that you begin to feel whole and balanced with him speaking through you, and you feel him as he reveals things to you inside, and what he reveals becomes your thoughts and becomes your thinking, and it starts making more and more sense, and more you accept it, to where anything beyond that becomes foreign. This is all the surrender, okay? Because the surrender is continuous. The surrender is an ongoing activity. The whole thing is the circumcision of the heart. It has to be continuous, because if you let there be sessions in between where you're not doing it, that's when the foreskin starts growing over the heart again. The surrender is when the Most High works through us in such a way to where we feel if you're feeling wholeness of his love, him working through us with love, that doesn't mean you're getting a greater quantity of love. That means you're feeling the Kodesh of that love more, that you're actually experiencing more of its activity in you. Not so much more in quantity of it, but more of its activity through you. And as you experience more of that activity of his him loving through you, more of the activity of his Kodesh through you, as he is loving through you. Okay? As this is happening, and as the more that it happens, the more that you experience the growth, the changes that he's producing in you, the more that he's growing you, the more this becomes your individual norm. And as your individual norm fits more with what he's doing, and that is your norm, and then that norm, as it grows of him working through you, that surrender, that norm of its continuity, of it being consistent, of it being persistent, that norm that's produced, of that being your norm, that norm is what brings you into his echad. Is this making any more sense? The surrender, the giving, is the repetition it takes, the over and over and over and over and over, 100 times a day, 1,000 times a day, 500,000 times a day. Give me all the fruits of your spirit. I have to stay before you until you give this to me. Okay? We know this is necessary. We know it is necessary. We know that it's necessary. And I'm going to tell you why we know. Okay? And I'm going to give you an example of it. In the parashah we just read, okay, in chapter 4, verse 36, I believe, if my eyes are working right, it says, he made his voice heard to you from heaven. That's the first thing that you got to understand. He makes his voice heard to you while he's yet in heaven. Everything is happening while he is yet in heaven. That's a little bit more in-depth look at omnipresent. While he is yet in heaven, he is here to be able to do this. Now,
Romans chapter 4:7.
Deuteronomy.
Oh, Deuteronomy. Okay.
did I say Romans? I apologize.
Deuteronomy
I
4 and
probably
36.
Now, if you look at the beginning of the parashah, since you got that far, if you look in chapter 3, and you're looking at verse, I believe it's 26, okay? Verse 26, Moshe is speaking. Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh was wrathful with me on account of you. And he's blaming on account of you for him hitting instead of speaking the rock. Hitting the rock instead of speaking to it. Okay? And did not listen to me. Saying you guys didn't listen to me, but it was him that hit the rock instead of speaking to it. So here we have another problem that we're not given a lesson on today.
That's in the book.
Okay? And Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh said to me, he's saying this after he's laid the blame away. Okay? So not only did he hit the rock instead of speaking to it, but then he lays the blame of it on the people.
Right.
Okay? And so look what it says. Now, I've told you before, when the Most High don't want you to pray about something, he's got to stop you from praying. He's got to take it away from your heart and mind. He's got to blur the words, make your tongue not work right, or make your thoughts not work right. And he will actually tell you just what he told Moshe. Look what he says here. Let it be enough for you. Do not speak to me about this matter any longer. I don't want to hear it. Why? Because if he hears it, he's got to respond to it. He gave his word he would answer prayer. He's results oriented, 100%, all in. So the only way that he will not answer prayer is if he stops you from praying. Don't bring this to me. Don't talk to me about this. I don't want to hear it. He's got to cut it off so that he don't have to respond. He's got to respond to prayer in the house of Yaakov. He's got to respond to prayer in the house of Israel. He's got to respond to prayer in the kingdom. And he's got to respond to prayer everywhere else. Because he gave his word. And he's good to his word.
Yeah.
Every time I send my word out, it does what I tell it to do and it comes back fulfilled. Never empty and void. Fully results oriented. And by way of understanding, hear me now. When he hears prayer, he's keeping his word. When he answers prayer, he's keeping his word.
Right.
So when he says his word goes out and has got to return fulfilled, part of his word is hearing prayer. Part of his word that is going out and being fulfilled is answering prayer. That's part of him keeping his word. So there's no such thing of him not answering prayer. So when he shows you here, and it's a few other places as well, when he says, don't talk to me about this anymore. Don't bring this to me. It's got to be enough. That's the way he doesn't keep his word, by you not bringing it to him. So if he tells you, don't bring this to me, don't talk to me about this, it's got to be enough. So he blurs your vision, he blurs your mind's eye, he blurs your words. So that I'm thinking about something else. You got an undisciplined mind, so it's easy for him to work with that. He don't want you praying about this anymore. Let him take you back to an interaction with somebody. Somebody assaulted me today. I didn't like that, y'all. You completely forgot about what you were doing. Look, that driver, look how he cut me off. Whatever it is, wherever he takes your mind in that moment. Do you see what they did to me, Yah? And I am one of your children. I am one of your righteous. I am one of your chosen. And look what they did to me. Ah. Are you going to stand for that, Yah?
No,
How
so-
pious we become before the Most High. Now that you've understood this a little bit more, Now that you've got this part, okay? Your surrender is seeking him. Your surrender is seeking him, his righteousness, his kingdom. Your surrender is seeking his face. Your surrender is desiring him more, not for what he can give you, not his rewards, not the crown of righteousness, not a place with him, not New Jerusalem. But those things are wonderful, and that is our desire. But we have need to desire to seek, we need to seek him.
Yep.
Our surrender needs to be for our desire to live, our bated breath, as the deer pants, okay, needs to be for him. Desire him, desire his name, desire his wholeness, desire his kadosh, desire his kodesh, desire him. One of my favorite prayers that my teachers taught me years ago, and I won't share the whole thing with you now. I don't want to bore you, okay? But it worked for me at the time. One of my favorite prayers that they taught me was Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh, blessed be he. Baruch Hashem, Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh. Your scripture that you revealed, your Torah that you wrote with your fiery finger, Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh, Baruch Hashem. You revealed to me in your fiery finger that you made me in your image. You made me a spirit being of life, and you gave me consciousness. You made me into fish. You made me in your image. I can't help but desire you. I don't want any other thing there. I don't want any other change. I want to be with you as I was when you first made me in your image. Bring me back to that. I don't want anything else. I don't want it any other way. You made me in your image. I can't imagine anything else. I don't want to imagine anything else. You made me in your image. Keep me this way in your image, fully, completely, 100%. Keep me at your bosom. No matter what you got to do, no matter how you got to reshape, remold, remake, recontour, no matter how you got to bring me down to the ashes and bring me back up again. You made me in your image. I desire my existence to be with you, made in your image. Didn't mean to make it so long, but I've kind of started using every way and every language I know to express the sentiment. He made me in his image, gave me consciousness, the awareness to know him. That's all that I desire. That's my desire in life. That's the desire of my heart. He made me in his image. And in the wholeness of him making me in his image, my desire is him. Nothing else. Yeah, a glass of tea once in a while is nice. That's in the flesh and blood. Okay? Communing with the stars on the mountaintop. Okay, that's nice. But in the wholeness of everything. This is one of the first prayers that my teachers taught me. To present myself before him. You made me in your image. Keep me there. Bring me back to that place with you. I don't want anything in between us. Give me a better way to worship you, pay homage to you. Give me a better way to praise you. You're my righteousness. You are my praise. You are everything. That was one of the first prayers that I was taught by my teachers. It has stayed with me throughout. You can word it any way you want to if you choose to use it. Surrender. The circumcision of the heart. It is volatile. It is the most aggressive thing that you can be involved in your life. It is the most passionate thing you can be involved in your life. It is the strongest current that you can feel. Consider the combined totality of all of his fruits of the Spirit and the combined totality of his Spirit giving birth to them all the time and the combined totality of the current of this. And we can stay in the full current of this. In him, with him, in his image. Oh, okay, yeah. I'm sorry. You just called me to peace. So, I guess it's time for comments and whatever we can talk about with it. That's all he's gonna let me give today. That's all there is. Forgive me.